Here we go. Welcome, everybody. Wow, week 5 already. I just got to ask if you are talking, just you can mute yourself. Probably not a bad idea. We just got to watch the background noise. This is week 5 of Selling for Success, January 2016. We've been looking at knowing yourself. And the first week was about, research. Like that's step number 1 in the 6-step sales process. So we were looking at knowing ourselves, right? Knowing our niche, knowing the market, knowing what drives them, what motivates them, what challenges they have, what issues they have, and then knowing ourselves, knowing our value, knowing what we bring to the table, and how we solve some of our clients' challenges. We did that in the first week or two, and then we're looking at warming up the sales call, what we can do to not make cold calls, and then we were looking last week at making cold calls. We were working on our scripts. Remember, I hope you all practiced last week, and some want to share. And then selling is a good conversation, overcoming the fear. Today we're going to look at asking good questions, don't give up, stay in touch, and building relationships. That's going to be next week. So welcome, everybody. I see Sarah on the call, and Nadia, welcome back. And Sarah, welcome to you. And Amanda, just got to maybe mute some of you out because there's some background noise there. No? Someone's got some background noise going on. All right. Thanks. If you just watch your background noise. Azita, welcome to you as well. Oh, I got to mute you out there, Azita. A little noisy. And yeah, welcome everybody. So today is, I just wanted to share this quote, a little thought for the day. How far you go in life depends on you're being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, tolerant of the weak and the strong, because someday in your life you will have been all of these. George Washington Carver. Kind of a nice quote in the U.S. they're celebrating Martin Luther King Day, so kind of a nice quote. So what's on tap today? Well, we're going to look at developing your core story. Your core story. What's your marketing story? Because that's what's going to connect to your ideal customer, your ideal that ideal niche. Then we're going to look at the discovery phase of the sales process. So we looked at the 6-step sales process, which starts with research, then prospecting, and then your goal for any prospecting, whether it's at a networking event, or you're at a trade show with a booth, or you're doing some cold calling, or you're just schmoozing with people, your goal is to get a meeting. And I call that meeting a discovery phase. And that's where you go in and you ask your client some questions. It's kind of a consultative sales approach. It's not kind of, it is. And then we're going to look at a little bit on presentations today. So we got a lot of ground to cover. And again, here's the 6-step sales process for those that have missed. It starts with research, prospecting, connect, engage. You can do that also online. We've talked about social selling, right? Which is the selling you do using your social media channels. And we've talked a little bit about that over the past 2 sessions. And then we're going to look today at the discovery meeting, or, you could call it a needs analysis. You can call it a diagnostic interview, whatever it is that fits for you. You can call it what you want, right? And then you're going to, hopefully get the work. You're going to maybe ask for the business in the presentation. You're going to perhaps overcome some objections. You might have to negotiate a little bit. You got to do the work and, of course, develop the relationship as well. So that's kind of the 6-step sales process in a nutshell, so to speak. So we're going to talk about developing, and we're going to have you develop your core story here. And one of the one person I really like in business, I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is Peter Guber. He's an executive, an entrepreneur, an educator, and an author. He's actually the chairman and CEO of Mandalay Entertainment. And Guber's most recent films include The Kids Are Alright, Soul Surfer, and Bernie. He's also produced Batman, The Witches of Eastwick, and Flashdance, if you remember way back when. His films have earned over $3 billion worldwide, 50 Academy Award nominations, Plus, he's the co-owner of 3 professional sports teams, the Golden State Warriors. So I don't know if you've heard of them. They won the NBA championship last year with Steph Curry. He owns the LA Dodgers and Major League Soccer team, the Los Angeles FC. So he's done pretty well, I'd say. There's some background noise. Just watch your background noise a little bit in the talking. So I'm going to have to mute someone out, I think, a little. There we go. That's better, I think. Just watch the background noise. Anyway, he's also chairman of Dick Clark Productions, which produces the American Music Awards, Golden Globe Awards, which were on last week. He's also the chairman of NASDAQ's Mandalay Digital Media, Mandalay Sports and Media. He's a professor at the UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television and the Anderson School of Management, and an entertainment and media analyst for Fox Business News. I'm not sure if any of you have seen him. He's also written a book called Tell to Win, Connect, Persuade, and Triumph with the Hidden Power of Story. And that's why we're talking about Peter Guber, because it's a really good book. I really recommend you get it. It's been a New York Times bestseller. And there's the book, Tell to Win, The Hidden Power of Story. So if you want to connect to your clients, to your ideal customer, to your niche market, you want to harness the power of telling stories, right? And telling a compelling story at that. Because that's what people like. That's what we remember. That's what connects to your customer. When you start to tell stories, they remember that more than they'll remember your name. They'll remember that more than the facts and the figures. They'll remember the story of you. So I'm just going to show you a 4-minute video, and this gives you some ideas on how to tell to win, how to connect to your audience. So I hope you can all hear it. Here goes.
I, in my life, failed, I succeeded. I failed, I succeeded. I had joy, I had pain. I had joy, I had pain. All through 35 or 40 years of entrepreneurial, executive, and producing activities in the entertainment fields and the business fields. But I began in the third act of my life to wonder, what is the difference between getting more joy, less pain, and more success and less failure? What was the difference maker? I decoded my own life. I began to realize I had it backwards. It wasn't storytelling. It was telling purposeful stories. It was using story and the emotional component of story to propel another person or persons, my teammates, my associates, my colleagues, my customers, the clients, to use the power of story and move them emotionally. The way we make sense of our life is narrative. You know, story isn't the icing on the cake, it's the cake. I mean, without it, you wouldn't be able to do. What would you go to a room? What would you say? You organize everything in the form of narrative. You intuitively know that. You have 95,000 years of training in 3 seconds on the other technologies. State-of-the-art technology, not state-of-the-art technology, is the game changer. There are many steps to tell a great story, but the key is telling the story. 4 of the 5 steps, I like to say, are about the telling. Remember, this is oral narrative, the power to tell your story in the room, face-to-face, breathing the same air as the other person. When the chips are down and things really must happen for you, where you've got to convince somebody to your goal, where you've got to convince somebody to join your church, give your money, buy your product, when you've got to do that, in the room, face-to-face, breathing the same air, it's always what counts. First is motivation. Not me motivating you. No, everyone thinks that's what it is. That really doesn't work too well. How are you motivated? How are you congruent? Before you walk into the room, before you tell your story in any form, on the phone, anyway, just like every great athlete, get in state. That state, that intention is seen before you speak the first word. Then remember, you want to be authentic, not just intention. Authentic means that your feet, tongue, heart, and wallet are going in the same direction, that your offering is generous, that what you want them to do is not about beating them, winning against them, is a me turning to we. So that's really crucial. That's what motivation is really about. The second one, audience. Everybody you talk to, what you call your customer, your client, your patron, when you think of that, they project their groin and their wallet. That's what you're aiming for. Flops are born here. Hits are born here. You want to hit? Think of them as an audience. Render an experience to them. Use that story to create an emotional palette, emotional transportation to move them. The third element is the goal. All telling of stories is purposeful. All. You have a purpose for it. You're trying to create a relationship, not a transaction. That's what this emotional transportation does. And then it turns them not into one-time transactions, but into viral advocates for your proposition. They own the story. Fourth element is interactive. All good telling a story is interactive. Everything. Interactive in the sense it's not a monologue. It's a dialogue. It's a conversation. You want to pitch and catch. You want them to be a participant, not just a passenger. You want them to own the story. You don't want to own the story. Then they pay it forward. And that gap of letting them come forward by being an owner of it is the secret, rather than trying to control them. The final element, very important element, is the content. It's everywhere story. It's lurking. In order to make sense of our lives, we use narrative in every event in our whole life. Why do we not realize that? Content is everywhere. Best is your own experience. It comes authentic. It feels good. You hold it, and you're giving them an experience. A story is something that moved you, whether you read it in a magazine, a newspaper, or somebody told you. If it moves you, you can hijack it and move others. It doesn't require a lot of theatrics. It requires intention and attention. And that's what I hope Tell to Win provides.
All right, that was a little bit of Peter Gruber. Comments, what do you think? You know, here's Peter Drucker, another author and business expert. He says, people buy with their hearts, not their minds. So what do you think? Do you agree? What do you think of this notion of storytelling as a way to connect to your audience? Yeah, so what do you think of that? So I'm seeing comments coming up. Emotional telling, totally agree. Yeah, so, you know, this is something, you know, we want to work on a little bit today. Even at Starbucks, they say, Howard Schultz of Starbucks says, we're not just selling coffee, we're selling an emotional, we're selling an experience and a relationship. Emotional connection is our true value proposition at Starbucks. So here's why you want to start to look at storytelling and craft your own story. So here's why. First of all, truth is marketing is generally boring. And it's boring because in most cases it talks above or around or through the audience rather than to the audience. So are you offering a solution without witnessing the problem yourself? Are you speaking in terms that your customer can relate to? You know, if you look at the history of storytelling, it started, you know, a time when, you know, villagers were sitting around the fire, and stories are what led people to move toward their vision. Stories work because they're not boring to the right people, right? Way back when, I mean, we told stories, you know, at the campfire, the cavemen, you know, like, here's the way to, you know, hunting your food without getting killed, right? So, yeah, some definite, you know, pluses there, right? So when you use stories in your marketing and your sales messaging, what you're doing is you're allowing your customers to experience the need you're trying to solve in a way that's easily understood and memorable. It's also safe because it creates enough distance between your reader and the problem that they're able to see it from a more objective point of view. It's not like you're selling something, right? So, you know, here's the truth of the matter. Chances are you're not the only one offering a solution to the problem. And with, you know, computer and Wi-Fi access these days and internet and all that stuff, your customer can probably find a number of those other solutions online in a heartbeat, right? So what's going to separate you from your competitors? The answer is you. Telling your own story accomplishes three things when you're talking to your audience. First of all, it communicates the purpose or the why you do what you do. What's your why? What's your why? Take a moment actually to think of that. Why do you do what you do? It's not for the good of your health. It's not for the good of your health. James writes, self-help gurus use their personal struggle story and how they overcame the struggle, and how you can too. Exactly. Thanks, James. That's exactly right. Telling your story also establishes credibility. It's not dependent on you being first, cheaper, faster, better, whatever than your competition. It's about you. I've gone through this. This is what I found. This is what I discovered. Here's some ideas that might be able to help you. I got my way out of this, right? And it builds trust because it shows that you've lived it too. You can help people solve their problems. So I want you to just take a moment and discover the why. Why do you do what you do? Take a moment to write that down and then, pop it into that, question bar. And if you want, I can also unmute you as well. I'm just trying to keep the noise down on the call today. I can definitely unmute everybody. Welcome, Ed, Angela. Who have I missed? Ira, welcome back. Li Shing, Matthew, Nadia. Wow, we got a great turnout today. Nice to see everybody. So I'll unmute a few of you. If you want to comment on what's your why, I've unmuted a few of you. Just watch your background noise. What's your why?
Pleasure meeting you, man.
Yes, thank you.
Lord willing, we'll see you next week.
Well, I don't know. I'm not here to announce it, so I think this is a special occasion. I'm looking at my grade, so.
Anybody have their whys? Okay, we see some answers. Why makes a positive difference in people's lives. Okay, so you're making a positive difference in people's lives, and that gives you fulfillment, probably, right? You want to see good results for other people too. So that's excellent. Anybody else? What's your why? Why are you in business? Why do you do what you do? You know, what drives you to get up early, or be on a call like this even? Like you're obviously you're motivated and you're excited, right? What's your why? Okay, we maybe have another one. Because I love helping people solve their problems. Thanks, Linda. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, and Jacqueline writes, to provide a better quality of life, allowing seniors to remain at home. Yeah, that's beautiful. Trust me, when somebody has to move to a home, a seniors facility, it's not the most easiest of transitions, for sure. So really connect with your why this week, work on that a little bit. So why do stories work in business? Well, who would you trust to help you with the problem? Someone who's certified to help you, or someone who's actually lived the problem and found a solution? Your story of how you struggled with and solved the problem that you now help others with is a perfect way to share that experience with your customers in a way that they can understand, remember, and relate to. And if I were going to add anything else to this idea of stories, it would be that it's also helpful to look at your early accomplishments earlier in life. They can be windows to your niche, since many times they are what reinforce your beliefs and expectations. When you are sharing your story to help customers determine that you can provide the right solution for them. In that way, they work together with you. As you understand your niche, you're able to share the stories from your life that better serve your customers. So you start thinking of your niche, and you start thinking of your why and your stories and your journey, and you can talk your customers' language. They're going to go, oh my God, that's me. I want to work with you. You can help me, right? It's less hard selling. So just as when you explore your story, you'll be able to find it can help you self-select your own niche, your own ideal customer. Sarah writes, I want to give those smaller businesses the same expertise that bigger companies get. Yeah, excellent. There's a level playing field now with technology, and you can make a difference to small business owners. We have the same tools available that big businesses have. Nadia writes, to make it easy for people to eat healthy. I've been there, where due to the hustle and bustle and fast-paced life, my health took a nosedive for the worse. I solved my health issues, and now I find joy in helping others prevent the same or change their course. Excellent. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about when you share your story. You've been there. And we all live busy, crazy lives. You know, I remember driving, it was just before Christmas, driving home after working out at the gym. I had to get some gas. I was a little hungry, right? Because it was already 7 o'clock and I hadn't had dinner and I just finished a workout, so I was a little hungry. And I go to fill up at this nearby Shell station near the gym on the way home. And you know, I'm kind of like a little bit hungry. And Natty, you could probably relate to this. And so I'm looking for something, right? Something of substance that I could have to eat. Well, believe me, there wasn't anything. There was good assortment of chocolate bars, which I wouldn't have minded, and no lack of the kinds of chips and, you know, salty snacks that I like. So, you know, what's my choice? So my choice was to kind of, you know, I think I bought some seeds, like some sunflower seeds to tide me over. But really, there's not a lot of choice at the gas station. And I'm sure you'll find that yourself. There's not a lot of fresh food, right? And yeah, I was a little hungry, and so I bought the sunflower seeds. So yeah, it's really important. Connect with your why, connect with your story. You're going to connect to your ideal customer. And here's the other thing. You know, we've all heard a business owner say this, like, my product is terrific. It appeals to everyone. But many of us have also seen small businesses that try to be all things to all people. And I'm telling you, this is a difficult bridge to cross. It's sometimes impossible. So targeting your market is simply defining, you've got to define who your primary customer will be. The market's got to be measurable and sufficiently large and reachable. So we're doing a little bit of a review on finding your niche market. Thanks, Nadia. Nadia says, good for you getting the sunflower seeds. Oh, believe me, the chips are calling my name, as you can well imagine. So I'm really asking you to hyper-focus. Think of your story. Think of who your niche customer is, and hyper-focus on your target audience. I don't want you running around after this 6-week training session calling on everybody, because everybody's not a customer. You got to narrow your ideal customer down a little bit. For example, a printer's target of mid-sized firms with mid-sized projects isn't a measurable definition. However, a target market of firms within a radius of 20 miles and annual revenues of 10 to 25 million and a need for 4-color printing runs of approximately 5,000 pieces is a very clear and focused definition. So really hyper-focus on your clients and your ideal market and your niche. So here are 3 steps to follow to identify your ideal market. I want you to be really focused as you move forward so that you have a focus, that you're not wasting your time and spinning wheels and going to every networking event and burning out. So first of all, you've got to identify why a customer would want to buy your product and service. Why should somebody buy your product and service? Can you think of 3 reasons why somebody should buy your product and service? Take a moment and work that out. Answer that question. Why would somebody want to buy your product and service? It's good. We got our own why you love doing what you do. Now, why would a customer want to buy your product and service? Take a moment just to answer that. Thanks. Okay, we got some responses, so let's see what we got here. Convenience, health, and cost, Nadia writes. Anybody else? Convenience, health, and cost. Yeah, when it comes to, you know, eating healthy, a lot of people look at it as, Nadia, and you probably agree, a lot of people look at it as it's a bit of a burden, right? You know, the change to eat healthier takes more maybe prep work, right? Putting your salads together, that kind of thing. So when it's convenient and it's healthy and it's cost effective, really, you've eliminated any objections. Mike says injury prevention and relaxation, for sure. You want to prevent injuries. You know, in sports, that's why you see all these athletes stretching all the time, right? It's to prevent injuries. You know, if you watched any of the NFL playoffs over the weekend, you'll see, like, it's quite scary. These players go back and right on their legs, or they take a fall, or they get hit, and it's like, oh my God, how do they withstand that, right? And the key is, to train, to stretch, to work it out, kind of thing. So really, really important to do that. Terry writes, thanks, by the way, Mike. James says, I clean seniors' apartments so they can often no longer do this for themselves. So he's offering a solution for them. Speaking of stories, seniors love sharing their stories with me, which also forms a nice bond and further trust. You got it, man. Thanks. James O'Connor, thank you, man. And Terry writes, because they believe I can make the difference. They trust me. They like my price. Yeah. So really get clear as to why somebody would want to buy your product and service. The next way to get clear on who your niche is to segment your overall market. Segment them. So I'll give you an example of how we segment, okay? So I had a client of mine, and I might have mentioned it in the second or third session, just before the holidays. I had a client of mine who's doing stress management for women aged 35 to 55. And she came in for a coaching session with me. She was I worked at a self-employment benefit program in Whitby, and she came in for a coaching session. She said, I'm not getting clients. They're not listening. They're not hearing my messaging. And I asked her, I said, well, who are your clients? She said, women 35 to 55. And then I asked her about her messaging. She said, basically, I just asked them, are they stressed? If they're stressed, then, I provide services to help them manage their stress. And I went, well, her name was Pamela. And I said, Pamela, like, what kinds of women are there in that marketplace, in that overall target of 35 to 55? And we discovered there were about 12 different kinds of women. So one of the types of women were single, self-employed with kids. So that's what we identified as a segment that had a lot of stress. And you all know, as you run your business, there's stress. Imagine being single doing it, and imagine being a mom or a dad, right? Raising a child. So any stress there? You bet. So now, when Pamela wanted to go out and meet that kind of client, she would go to those sort of networking events, right? A business networking event. Now, when she got up to speak, she would say, hey, are you a single self-employed woman with kids? Do you know the stress it takes to run both a business and raise a family all by yourself? Well, what we do is, right? So here's who you are. Here's the problem. Here's our idea and solution for them. So you want to segment your market. We picked three segments out of the overall targeted range of women 35 to 55, and we really narrowed down and cut up that pie into segments. And then we narrowed it down to 3 that she was going to focus on. And boy, did she ever start getting results. Really, really good results. People started to come to her because why? That's them. I'm single, I'm self-employed, and I'm raising a family. I've got that problem. I want to hear more about how you can help me with it. I have stress. How do you help me, right? The other thing is research your market. Always be researching, understanding your market. What drives them? What motivates them? What challenges do they have? How can you help them through these challenges? And understand the 3 market types too. Are you business to business? Because that's going to need a whole different set of marketing and sales tactics and strategies. So business to business, you can still sort of make those prospecting and cold calls, but if you're business to C, business to consumer, you can't cold call, right? The do not call list. So you've got to be able to get work referrals, be at events where you're getting people's names, maybe promoting using social media where people are finding out about you and you're educating them through your social media strategies and your messaging, and they're interested in your message and they want to come to you. Maybe you do workshops, maybe you write, right? Different ways to grab that market, the B2C market. And are you industrial or wholesale? Are you selling through a middleman, right? So you have to understand, like, where do you play? What arena do you play in? Any questions? Are we all clear? Is everybody clear so far? All right, so we're going to have you work on your story. And I want you to answer, there's a few things you're going to answer. You're going to answer these questions, so there's 6 questions. And then I'll give you a couple minutes there, and then you got to answer those, right? And so there's 2 pages of questions that you got to answer. So let's start here. Take a few minutes to work on that. Somebody commented that they heard piano music. I do have some light jazz going on in another room in the background. So take a few minutes to write these out or answer these questions. How did you get into business? Why did you get into this business? What do you love most about what you do? Answer these questions. Take a few minutes. I'll just be quiet for a moment. Another minute on this. And I'm going to change the slide. If you prefer to work on this after, you can. You just write the questions down. I'm going to change the slide over and answer these. And James writes, speaking of jazz, when you think about it, all musicians tell a story through their music, either the words or the notes. People feel a connection. Yeah, for sure. And music really unites us all, for sure. Thanks, James. Take a moment now to work on these 3. You're doing well today on this Monday, this cold Monday. Hey, welcome, Charlotte. Excellent. Okay, everybody have this? So that's the start of your story. What you just wrote, what we just did there, is the start of your story. And if you can craft this a little bit more on your own this week, then you got a story. It's a great place to start. It gives you a bit of a focus. Yeah, Sarah asked if I can go back one slide. I'll go back just for a minute, Sarah. Maybe write the questions down, and then you can work on it after. There's the slide. Thanks, Sarah. No pivotal moment, but a series of different experiences, Mike writes. Yeah, sometimes it is different experiences that lead up to what it is you're doing, right? What got you here? It might not be something pivotal, but it could be a series of occurrences that help get you to where you're going or where you're at today. So that's really good to know. So if you can work on the story over the next week and try it out on some of your friends. On Nadia, I'll just go to the next slide for you so you can get the last part. Does everybody have these? 3, 2, 1. Here we go. That's the second part. All right, we got that. So work on the story a little bit this week. Practice it. Okay. And Mike says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So here are some keys to crafting your story. Are you making an emotional connection in what you're writing? Is your story honest? Is it to the point? Does it have the audience in mind? Does it involve one of those 7 triggers? Remember we talked last week or the week before about Sally Hogshead and the 7 triggers of fascination? Yeah, James says people can take a print of your slide questions maybe to save them from writing them down. Yeah, and I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel, so just email me and I'll send you the link. I won't have it up probably till tomorrow. So does your story involve one of the 7 triggers? You remember passion, mystique, power, command, right? Remember those? Is it topical? Is your story topical? Is it relevant to what's going on today? Is it a good overcomes and wins story? People love that, right? That's sort of the David and Goliath idea. Is it sexy? I hate to say it, but in this day and age, it still sells. And is it relevant? Is it relevant to people? Is it talking to what people are thinking about and concerned about, right? Is it relevant? So those are the keys to a good story. So make sure as you're crafting your story that it involves some of these keys to a good story. All right, we're going to take a little bit of we're going to move down that road a little bit, all right? So we worked on story. Great work today, everybody. It's your road and yours alone. Others may walk it with you, but no one can walk it for you. Nice little quote. So the next road in, we've talked about prospecting and networking and cold calling and writing and using social media to get meetings with our clients. The next step is let's get that meeting. What happens in that meeting? Before we go on to that, Linda writes, we should watch, though, that we can talk too much about ourselves and forget to ask questions about the prospect. Yeah, exactly, Linda. And at the beginning, we showed a video in the video, the guy in the video, the author, talked about engaging others when you're telling your story. So ask those questions, get the audience talking and engaging rather than you talking at them. So the goal for prospecting, networking, using your social media to make connections and links and your goal is to get the meeting. So never sell, don't even sell online because good luck with that, right? If you're making a prospecting call, you're not selling anything. What you're trying to do is raise the awareness of the value that you're bringing to the table to your customer. Hey, here's what we can do for you. Here are the kinds of results Would you like that for yourself? Because if it is, then I'd like to meet with you and see how we can help you get there, right? That's what you want. You don't even know if you want to do business with that customer. Oh, Kent writes, who's the author of the 7 Triggers? Sally Hogshead. And it's exactly the way it is. Hogshead, Sally Hogshead. And it's called Fascination, or Fascinate. The book is called Fascinate. So you want to get a meeting with your customers. So, what are your goals when you meet with your customer for the first time? Anybody have any goals? Any goals? To me, it's I want to find out about that customer. I want to know what drives them. I want to know about their budgets. I want to know if they're the decision maker. I want to know their needs and their challenges. I want to know the timing. Are they in a hurry to buy now? When can we kind of expect to make a deal? Because I got to be mindful of my time. I don't want to spin wheels, right? Wasting time on someone who has no intention of buying anytime soon. Jim writes, yeah, find wants, needs, and desires. Exactly. That's the goal of the meeting. That's what you want to find out. Your first meeting is not to sell. Your first meeting is to ask critical questions, to learn more about the customer and see whether or not they're even a fit for who you are and what you do, and if you even want to work with them. What do you want to find out about that customer? You got to go in there and think, what do I want to know? What do I want to walk away with today? And are you also clear? Because you will communicate how you can maybe help your customer in that first meeting. But your first meeting is not a sales presentation. Your first meeting is just to, learn and then, make your customer start to trust you and to share how you do the work you do. And what would you do or say if you realize that you and your customer aren't a good fit and this is not your ideal client? What would you do? Be prepared for that, because sometimes you might see somebody and go, I don't know if I really want to work with them. So be prepared for that in the meeting. So your first meeting, the discovery session, part 3 of the 6-step sales process, is to build trust and to seek to understand your clients first, and then seek to find ideas, solutions, and opportunities that help your clients get from where they're at now with their current situation to a more desirable state. Stephen Covey even talks about that, right? In the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Seek to understand before being understood. So this takes a lot of the pressure off you in that first meeting. I just go and to me, it's a fact-finding session. I don't have to sell. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to know everything. I want to know about the customer. Business expert Robert Keith Levitt says, people don't ask for facts in making up their minds. They'd rather have one good soul-satisfying emotion rather than a dozen facts. So this is what we're calling consultative selling, by the way. And it's a process by which you, the sales rep, and the customer agree that the relationship is paramount and it must survive any single transaction. You might find as you get into the sales process and relationship with your clients, you can't fill every order, every request they have. So you really have to make sure that the relationship must stand the test of time over the transaction. Plus, the second thing you need to do in consultative selling is focus first on discovering and defining a need or problem independent of the product or service that you offer, and then create a set of solutions to resolve the problem, which may incorporate the product or service you're selling. Okay? So this is a nicer way to sell. Now, this won't work with every customer, because there's some who they don't want to have that cozier little relationship. They just want, give me the facts, give me the details, give me the quote, and I'll decide, right? Here's another little video on consultative selling. It's about 3.5 minutes, and this is I like this video. I think you're going to like it, okay? Take a moment out, have your coffee. Here goes.
Hello, I'm Clay Kamala of SDB Training and SalesAssessment.com. And this video is about taking you around the sales cycle and having a look at the fundamentals of consultative selling. What I want to do is actually just tell you a quick story. One day, I was standing in my garden, and in my garden I have a tap, and the tap was dripping. And I look at it, as I do every time, and say to myself, the tap's dripping. On one of these occasions, a plumber walks through my garden, and the plumber says to me, your tap's dripping. And I say to the plumber, yeah, I know. He says, I could fix that for you for £50. And I say, yeah, it's okay, I can live with it. Okay? Now, one of the fundamentals of consultative selling is distinguishing between an issue, a problem, or a challenge, and an actual need. A need is something I want to do something about. An issue, a challenge, a problem is something potentially I could live with for a long time. So I'm back to my tap, which is dripping. And again, a couple of weeks later, I'm still looking at it, and I'm still seeing it's dripping, and I'm still walking on, and I'm still saying to myself, I ought to do something about this, but I don't. Another plumber walks through my garden, and he says, you've got a dripping tap. And I think, yeah, here it comes, I can fix it. But he doesn't. What this plumber says to me is, how many drips every minute? And I say, I don't know. So he says, have you got the time for me to check it? And he does. And he checks how many drips in 1 minute. He then says, how much does water cost you per litre? And I say, I don't know. And he says, I do. And he works it out for me. And he says, do you know that dripping tap is costing you £1 every day? I said, is it? Yeah. How long's it been like that? He says. And I say to him, again, I don't know, a couple of months maybe? He says, well, in that case, you've probably lost about £50 worth of water already. Can you afford to do that? Can you afford to let that go on? Now he's got my attention. Now I'm thinking, well, this problem is a bit bigger than I actually thought. And I actually say to him, can you do something about it? And he says, yeah, it'll cost you £60, but I can mend it for you right here and now. Now I'm just thinking the other plumber could do it for 50, but that's going to take longer. So we haggle a little, we settle on 55, and he gets on and he mends my tap. A fundamental of consultative approaches to selling is to be able to build the need that the customer has, for them to be able to see the benefit in metrics and understand the difference between an issue, a challenge, or a problem that you can live with and a need that you've got to do something about. And that is one of the key fundamentals if you want to be a really successful consultative seller.
All right, comments. What did you learn from that? What did you learn from that? What about the importance of asking questions? Really important to ask good questions, right? Because asking good questions helps facilitate the sales process. You heard that plumber ask those critical questions. So it's really important for you to ask good questions. James writes, Nike sells shoes and apparel, but you rarely hear them talking about products in their ads. They focus on showing you the celebration of sports, of athletics, of achieving dreams and goals to connect with you so you love them enough to want to wear their products with pride and passion. Yeah, Mike writes, he learned the importance of asking focused questions. Sarah writes, asking question takes away the sales pitch part of it. Totally, because when you've got you're asking the right questions, the customer will decide for themselves, right? And it's the distinction, of course, between having a challenge and a need, Kent writes. So I kind of like that video. I find it, I like the guy's style. So questions are key. It's key to ask good questions. Can you come up with 5 good questions that you'd like to ask your clients or prospects? What are 5 good questions you could ask? Any ideas? 5 good questions. Take a moment. Even if you come up with 2 or 3 right now, that's okay. How can I serve you? James writes. Anybody else? For the sake of time, I'm going to, oh, I got one more. Hang on. What are you missing out on because of? Right? I like that, Mike. Thanks. You're going to ask questions in a couple places. You got to ask questions if you make your if you're doing your cold calls or a prospecting call, and the client said no. That's a great opportunity for you to ask them permission then to answer a few questions to probe that no. And then you want to ask questions when you're meeting that client for the first time. So asking questions and think of 5 questions and write them down. Asking questions doesn't mean you lose control of the sales call or the client. It actually shows that you're interested and you really want to learn about the company and the client and their issues and challenges. How much water and money are they wasting by that tap dripping, right? Get the customer to talk. Asking questions gets the customer to talk. It shows you've got a genuine concern for their well-being. And then you can tailor, once you have enough information about what the client wants and needs and their challenges are, then you can tailor your solutions for the client. Asking questions in a learner mindset allows for flow, openness, and solution thinking. This is something I really encourage you to do a little self-study on. Dr. Marilee Adams out of the States has a methodology of inquiry. You know, that if we, as salespeople, instead of thinking we have to know everything and know all and have all the right answers, what if we're just in a state of inquiry? And the state of inquiry is what's called, she has it as the learner judger mindset. See, learning, thoughtful choices, solution-focused, win-win relationships. That's what we want, right? For our customers and ourselves and our business. Or are you a judger mindset? Automatic reactions, blame focus, win-lose. So you want to ask open-ended question. What's possible? What are they thinking and feeling and wanting? What assumptions are you making? What are the facts? What happened? What do you want? So it's a learner judger mindset. So I really do a little bit of homework on that. She's a very interesting woman. I got to study with her when I took my coaching certificate at the Adler School. Jim writes, you want to learn to listen, for sure. Learn to listen and ask good questions. That's your key role as someone in sales. So if you want more on the learner judger mindset, it's the inquiryinstitute.com. Harvey Mackay, the author of How to Swim with the Sharks Without Getting Eaten Alive, has the Mackay 66 questions he'll ask every client over time, from where they went to school to the hobbies that they have to what their interests are, what their favorite restaurants are, what sports teams they like, are they married, what are their kids' names, and why does he ask all that? So he can relate to the customer on a much more profound, more personal level. Check out the HarveyMackay.com and the Mackay 66 tool. And there's the Dr. Marilee Adams. Really encourage you to learn a little bit about that. So I asked you to come up with 5 questions. Here's some that you might want to use. Have you used this service before? How happy are you with your current provider? Are you using somebody now? Would you be open to change? Are you open to an alternate provider in case the one you have can't deliver what you need? What would we do to have to get your business? Do you see using our services in future? If so, when? When's a good time to follow up with you? How would you like us to stay in contact with you? What methods of marketing do you prefer? And how much? So that's what's called permission marketing. Any questions on questions? So the kinds of questions you want to ask are situational, the cost of, what's the cost of, and Mike, you just pointed that out. What's the cost of not acting now? Of continuing on with the dripping faucet, or continuing on with the pain and the struggles of the concussion? What's the cost of not taking action now? What are your future plans? What are some of your buying motives and triggers? What's the timing like? When are they really going to buy? What are their budgets? What concerns, stops, and blocks do they have? Maybe they have a bit of an objection about using your services, and you need to uncover that and minimize that objection. And what do you need? What does the customer really need? What do they want? Really important to get to that. You're welcome, Mike. Mike writes thanks. Thanks, Mike. We're almost done here, folks. It's a little longer today. It's a lot of material. So we're talking about solution selling, and the bottom line is to succeed in today's you as a seller of your goods and services, your business, you need to be worthy collaborators with highly knowledgeable buyers, because your customers are knowledgeable and you need to collaborate with them. You can't drive and control the sale simply because many buyers are too empowered and savvy. Plus, with global economic uncertainties and the recent global recessions, they've made individual buyers, as well as the companies they represent, realize perhaps once and for all they need to see results and maximize return on investment in every purchase. So you've got to be able to show that in this day and age. That means buyers are more cautious than ever, and they're really aware of the risks of making bad decisions. So you've really got to calm those fears. Shelley asks, how much time should you allot for a discovery session? I go a half hour to an hour, Shelley. I think that's as much time as you can expect. If you're really having a good time and carrying on, go as long as you want. But I think you should schedule a half hour to an hour. So in solution selling, you've got to align with where the buyers are in their process and collaborate with them in an open and transparent manner. That your goal is to help them. And if they see that that's you're genuine about that, they're going to want to do business with you. So the sellers who do this are winning business, and they're transforming selling. So hopefully you'll get to do that. James, you ask about SurveyMonkey. I do surveys ahead of selling. I don't confuse my surveys with my selling. I want to go in and talk to somebody firsthand and get firsthand information. A survey is more market research for me. So I'm going to just stop it there just because we're a little bit over time. So you want to collaborate with your customers. So here's 4 ways to collaborate. First of all, set a meeting that opens the door for collaboration. So an example is you can set the meeting with stated premise of sharing some ideas and your value and thoughts and solutions to your client or buyer. So, set a meeting up for that. That's what you want. That's the discovery session. And then step 2 is implement wonder and the impact of not acting on the ideas and solutions. For example, ask the buyer to wonder with you about possibilities. For example, you might say, so it's happened like this at our other 2 client sites. Given that we discussed so far, imagine for a minute you implemented something similar and it's 6 months from now. What effects do you think you might see? What would the impact be? So get the client to imagine with you the act of doing or not doing. Right? Mike already alluded to that. Again, the importance of asking incisive questions. If you created the opportunity and got the meeting, then it's up to you to set the table, set the tone, and define the platform and the agenda for that discovery session. That doesn't mean you don't ask meaningful questions early in the sales process, because what you want to do is you want to get the buyer to think. You want them to realize that they're maybe a little uncomfortable with their current situation, and get them to, see, how taking an action with you is going to help them, down the road. And the 4th step is shape the path forward. Most of us don't only sell one offering. A lot of us have flexibility where we offer other services and products. We can do add-on selling. We can, make the sales process easier by how we deliver it, how we package it, how we ship it, right? But the goal, bottom line, is to get a chance to present your ideas and solutions in person. Never, ever quote somebody over the phone. Get Make sure never present your ideas and solutions over the phone. Try and get that presentation meeting in person so you can see the response someone has when they see you. I was going to get to presentations, and I think just for the sake of time, no, I'll just do a really quickie. It won't take long. So your next step in the sales process is to present, right? And you just want to make sure when you do present, a couple of rules of thumb. Keep the audience engaged and be passionate. Be focused. Don't waste a lot of time. Make sure you reinforce the benefits, your solutions, and that they're tailored and tangible and impressive to what it is that the client said they wanted when you're asking them questions. Keep your presentation short and use less slides. Keep it simple, coordinated, and provide a new perspective. And, it doesn't hurt to be a little bit funny or controversial. Make sure when you're presenting that you plan and execute the sales introduction and the sales meeting in a way that creates a high priority need and a compelling urgency to set up the close. Articulate your value proposition. We worked on this at the beginning. Make sure you, when you present the solutions, that it's to what your clients want, that there's a value for them, right? They see the value. You're going to help them solve this. You're going to help them get that. You're going to help your client eliminate this or make more money or grow more hair on their head or have less, damage from concussions. Whatever it is for you, you want to really articulate this, the value proposition. And then create a sense of urgency. Look at, if you don't act now, what's it going to be like if you don't act, right? What's your life going to be like? Jim writes, yes, person, one-to-one today, not social media. Yeah, try and make your presentations, your discovery sessions, go get the meeting, meet somebody face-to-face. It's very hard to sell using social media. Use social media to do your homework and your research and form that trust and get people to respond to you. But don't do your selling over social media. Shelley asks, do presentations come before the proposal? Shelley, your presentation is your proposal. Okay? That's what you can call it a presentation, a proposal. I'm going to deliver a quote. That should all be intertwined in your presentation. I hope that answers your question. So next week, we're going to finish our 6-week series by looking at some selling scenarios, overcoming objections, negotiating, some closing tips, and working on the relationship. We've got a lot of ground to cover next week. So your homework, all right, good, Shelley. I'm glad that helped. So this week, work on your story. Work on that core story. Now, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel, probably, if not tonight, by tomorrow morning. This is where you get a hold of me. Unfortunately, I can't send you this file. It's too big. It's like a 67 kilobytes of information. I don't know why that is. I think because I've embedded these videos. So if you want this information, I can send you something similar to this, but I can't send you the slides. But I can send you the link to everything else, the link to all the videos if you missed the last first 4 classes. I can send you all the links to the videos, and it can send you the 4 PowerPoints too. So just email me at thecoach@smallbusinessbigideas.com or log on to my website there, and that's my number. And we'll be back next Monday. Thanks, James. Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for the nice comments. Thanks, Kent. Great stuff. So next Monday is our last day and in the series, and I really appreciate everybody being here. Have a really, really beautiful day, and thank you so much